I'm Fran Lucca. On this report, we're going to take you back in time when most of our entertainment was on this old-time radio. It created the theater of the mind. Listen carefully.
Wrong with Elton, wrong with Elton, wrong with Elton.
Good evening, friends of the inner sanctum. This is your host inviting you through the gory portals of the squeaking door for another soiree with some super-duper supernatural personalities.
Old-time radio lives today in Western New York thanks to a dedicated group of radio buffs who keep those nostalgic shows alive for new generations to enjoy.
Well, our organization has anywhere from 100 to 200 members, depending upon the time of the year. Our membership is coast to coast. The newer members have collections on cassettes. And we all start on cassettes, I would say, but as you get into it, you find out you're better off using reel-to-reel recorders. Well, this is my opinion anyway.
The club meets and we discuss many aspects of old-time radio, and there's a lot of interaction between members. The club has a monthly publication called the Illustrated Press, plus Phyllis, Frank, and I do Memories, which is an annual publication of the club.
We have articles in the booklet that are written by various members around the country, and we also have some reprints of old-time radio listings, some little ads showing the different old radios, and some of the old program ads showing Ozzie and Harriet coming up next week and what the show was about, things like that.
I find it so much more entertaining. You can use your mind, you can use your imagination. You're not hooked in one spot looking to a box. And the quality of the TV programs today, I really don't have much use for. They're all basically the same type of format, and the hard sell that they have. Well, I would just rather sit around, take a reel, put it on my recorder, and listen, and really enjoy some good drama.
And now, The Whole Town Sleeping, starring Agnes Moorehead. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Old-time radio actually wasn't old-time radio to me because ever since I was real little, I grew up with radio and radio stories and drama. I can remember when I was a kid, 5 or 6 years old, listening to Fibber McGee and Molly and Henry Aldridge, The Lone Ranger.
With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again. I'll Silver! Hooray!
How do they get that horse sound? The clop, the clop, the clop.
It was something like an aquarium with gravel in there and 2 sound effects man using plungers going up and down into the gravel. Oh, the Lone Ranger started at WBR in 1929, and it was written by Fran Stryker, who also wrote The Green Hornet and Sergeant Preston. He did it at a place called Fiction Farm near Arcade. And one of the things I find hard to believe to this day was that he sold the rights to the Lone Ranger for $10.
Oh boy.
And a job during the Depression. And about 20 years later, I believe it was sold for $3 or $4 million.
Those were exciting years for me because you could go on about doing things as a kid and playing and listening to these things, and you could picture all these things in your mind.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
Many people may not be aware of the fact that Orson Welles, shown in the middle here of this picture, was the first dramatic actor to play in The Shadow. And his Margot Lane was none other than Agnes Moorehead.
Why would you sit around listening to a radio when you could watch the tube and see the video in action?
Well, I have never seen a television show yet that could just begin to capture the imagination of the old-time radio programs. In fact, many of the programs that made the transition from radio to television, they were a very poor disappointment when I first viewed them. My favorite always was yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
This is Orrin Vance.
Orrin Vance?
Yeah, you sent me up to Ossining 7 years ago, you remember?
Huh? Oh, yes, I think I do.
You know, I thought a lot about coming out and killing you, Dollar.
Probably the most interesting picture that you might want to see, your viewers here, is the original radio cast of Amos and Andy, and they're on the top here, and just below them is the TV cast of Amos and Andy. The program Amos and Andy was so popular that movie theaters at the time had to stop their shows and broadcast the radio show inside the theater so as not to lose their audience. This was during the 1930s.
Radio's all-time favorites, Amos and Andy.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Amos. Andy, you know what that music say?
Yes, sir, Amos. That music say good health to all from Rexall.
Bill Conrad on radio, his version of Gunsmoke was far superior to the television program.
Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. And the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man, Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet.
Wait a minute.
Oh, hello, Kitty. Is the Long Branch on fire or something?
Oh, of course not. What do you mean?
I can't figure anything else that gets you up this early in the morning.
Today, you see stories on television, and you're sort of confined. You're confined to a little tube in front of you, and you're confined by what somebody else thinks you should see. Whereas in radio, as I grew up, and reading books the same way, the world is your imagination. Your mind's there painting the pictures for you.
It is later than you think. We bring you stories of the supernatural and the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasies and the mysteries of the unknown. We tell you this frankly so that if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginative plays, we urge you calmly but sincerely to turn off your radio now.
We did.